AI writing emails, even composing symphonies, maybe even taking over the world. Okay, maybe not that last one, at least not yet.
Not yet.
But it's out there. You're right to be curious about this whole AI revolution that's happening, especially, with this report you sent us. Economic and social impact of AI?
Yeah.
It's pretty dense stuff, so we're going to dive deep into it.
Yeah, you've chosen
And hopefully
a fascinating and complex subject.
Well, it doesn't just scratch the surface, right? It dives right into the deep end. We're talking the huge EE potential of AI. We're talking trillions of dollars added to the global economy. But, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
It also acknowledges some very real risks. We're talking job displacement. We're talking ethical dilemmas. The whole shebang, really. So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, it's interesting you say that AI feels like this brand new thing.
Yeah.
Because in reality, the field itself goes all the way back to the 1950s.
Oh, wow.
The term artificial intelligence was actually coined way back in 1956 at this thing called the Dartmouth Summer Research Project.
1956. Wow. That's like Poodle Skirts and Elvis?
Right.
To think that people were already thinking about this back then.
Right now.
Like John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, these names. They were already, dreaming of intelligent machines back then. That's wild.
Yeah. They were true pioneers, laying the groundwork for everything we're seeing today.
But the report mentions that their predictions back then were a little, let's just say, optimistic.
Yeah, a tad.
Yeah. It wasn't quite, AI was going to take off right away and change the world.
Right. Things didn't quite pan out, according to plan.
Yeah.
Those early AI systems, they didn't live up to the hype, which led to, this period in the 80s and 90s that people call the AI winter.
The AI winter. That sounds a little ominous.
Yeah.
What was going on then? Was it like a technological ice age or something?
Yeah, in a way.
Huh?
It was a time when there was a lot of disillusionment around AI. And probably even more crucially, the funding for AI research really dried up.
Oh, I see.
So those early setbacks, though, they kind of forced a shift in focus for AI researchers.
Okay.
They had to get practical. They had to start tackling real-world problems that they could solve.
Right.
Instead of chasing these grand visions of, sentient machines.
So it's kind of like a reality check for the field.
Exactly. And in a way, that's what paved the way for the machine learning revolution that we see today. By focusing on solvable problems, AI research, it made huge leaps forward, which eventually led to things like self-driving cars and facial recognition software and everything else.
It's amazing how, a period of struggle can actually lead to something even better,
Yeah.
Like that whole AI winter thing led to the AI boom we're seeing now.
Right.
But, speaking of potential struggles, let's talk about something that's probably on a lot of people's minds these days. Jobs.
Yeah.
Like how AI is going to impact our jobs, how we earn a living. And this report, I gotta say, it doesn't really sugarcoat things.
Right.
It just comes right out and says there's definitely a potential there for job displacement.
Yeah, it acknowledges that concern for sure. And it's not just, factory jobs being automated, which has kind of been happening for a while, right?
Right.
This report is saying AI could affect a lot more, like a wider range of things like transportation, logistics, customer service, even some white-collar jobs are, potentially vulnerable.
So it's like the robots are coming for our jobs scenario.
Right.
Which is a little unnerving to say the least. But the report also says, hold on, it's not quite the doomsday scenario some people are predicting.
Yeah, it pushes back against that a little.
Okay.
And this is where I think it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The report says that AI is more likely to, transform jobs.
Okay.
Not just eliminate them completely.
Okay.
It's more about AI, like augmenting what humans can do, not replacing us entirely.
Okay.
At least not anytime soon.
So can you give an example of what that kind of transformation might look like in a specific job?
Sure. Let's take the medical field.
Okay.
AI is already changing how doctors diagnose diseases, right?
Right.
There are AI systems that can analyze medical images, like X-rays and MRIs, with amazing accuracy. They can even spot things that that human doctors miss.
Really?
But this doesn't mean that radiologists are going to be out of a job.
Okay.
It just means that AI is a tool
Right.
to help them make, faster and more accurate diagnoses.
So it's more like AI is a a super-powered assistant.
Right.
Rather than, like, taking over the whole operation.
Exactly. Think of AI as like a tireless, incredibly detailed-oriented assistant that never needs a break.
Right.
And that frees up, human professionals to focus on the things that require more, creativity, critical thinking, the stuff that AI is not so good at yet.
Right, like the really human stuff.
Exactly.
Which kind of brings us to a really important point, I think, which is that if we want to thrive in this future where AI is everywhere, we really need to double down on those uniquely human skills.
For sure.
Like, is that something that the report talks about as well?
Absolutely. The skills that the report emphasizes are things like adaptability,
Okay.
complex problem solving, creativity, communication, emotional intelligence.
Right, right.
And these are all things that are in really high demand right now.
Yeah.
And they'll probably stay that way, for the foreseeable future.
So it's not just about being good with technology.
Right.
It's about being good with people.
Yeah.
Being good with ideas, like navigating tricky situations, that kind of thing.
It's about being a lifelong learner,
Oh, yeah.
because the world is changing so fast, faster than ever, really.
Right.
And being able to, adapt and learn new skills is going to be more important than ever.
Yeah. It's like that old saying, the only constant is change. Right. But now that change is being driven by AI, so it's a whole new ballgame. Right. So we've talked about how AI might change individual jobs and, the skills that we'll need. But what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Like the economy as a whole?
Right.
This report throws around some pretty big numbers, like AI potentially adding trillions with a T of dollars to the global economy.
That's not
chump change.
No.
That's enough to completely reshape the world.
Yeah.
So how does it do that? How did AI pull that off?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And I think it boils down to one key thing: efficiency.
Okay.
AI can make pretty much every industry, every process way more efficient.
Yeah.
Think about manufacturing.
Okay.
AI-powered robots, they can work 24/7.
Right.
They don't take breaks. They don't need,
Right.
they don't need unions. They don't need, any of that stuff. So that increases productivity, output, all that.
Right.
Or how about logistics?
Okay.
AI can figure out the best delivery routes so you use less gas, which saves money.
Right.
And your delivery times are shorter, so customers are happier. It's a win-win.
So it's all about making things smoother, cutting costs, boosting productivity.
Exactly. There's a term for it, actually.
Okay.
Total factor productivity.
Wow. Okay.
It's a way to measure how well we're using our resources. Labor, capital, tech, all that. And the prediction is AI could seriously boost that number, meaning we get more output for the same input.
Okay, that makes sense. But this wouldn't be a deep dive if we didn't look at the other side of the coin too, right?
Right.
Because the report also warns about some possible downsides to all this AI economic power.
Right.
What are some of those concerns?
Well, one of the big ones is that it could make economic inequality even worse.
Oh, okay.
So if all those trillions of dollars in economic gains from AI don't get shared fairly,
Right.
it could widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots even more.
So it's not just about AI creating wealth.
Right.
It's about, who controls that wealth.
Exactly.
And how it actually gets used.
The report is concerned that we might see wealth concentration, where a big chunk of those AI profits only go to the people who own the technology.
Right.
And those tend to be, big corporations are already wealthy people.
Right. And that's not the only worry, right? What about competition? Like, does it affect competition in the market?
Yeah, that's another big one that the report talks about. One of the things that makes AI so powerful is data.
Okay.
The more data an AI system can access, the better it can learn and perform.
So it's like they say, knowledge is power, but in this case, it's data. Data is power.
Exactly. And that creates a situation where the companies with the most data have a huge advantage.
Right.
Which can really stifle competition.
Right. It's like those big tech companies. They have tons of user data.
Yes.
So they're already starting from a really strong position.
Exactly. And AI could make them even more dominant. This is where the idea of data network effects comes in.
Data network effects?
Yeah, it's basically this cycle where the more data a company has, the better its AI gets.
Right.
Which attracts more users, which gives them even more data.
Right.
And so on and so on. It makes it super hard for smaller companies to compete.
So it's like a snowball effect,
Yeah, exactly.
but with data. So it's not just about who can create the best AI anymore.
Right.
It's about who controls the most data.
You got it. And it raises important questions about regulation.
Yeah.
Data privacy,
Right.
how to make sure everyone has a fair chance in the age of AI.
So we've talked about jobs, we've talked about the economy, but what about how AI affects society as a whole? I mean, that's where things get really interesting, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Kind of philosophical even.
It's true.
Because AI can change so much more than just how we work and live.
Right.
It can change how we talk to each other, how we govern ourselves, even how we define what it means to be human.
It's true.
And the report, dives into some of those deeper questions, too.
It does.
It almost feels like we're, right on the edge of something really huge,
Yeah.
Like something's about to change.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not all, going to be easy.
Right.
The report also talks about some of the potential problems.
Yeah.
And one that really stuck with me was this whole AI bias thing. Can you, explain what that is in plain English?
Sure.
And, why it's such a big deal?
Yeah, it's really important. And I think it just shows that even though AI is getting so sophisticated, it still reflects us. It reflects our values, unfortunately, our biases.
Right.
Basically, AI bias is when an AI system ends up having the same biases as the data it was trained on,
Okay.
or even the biases of the people who designed it.
So it's like AI picks up our bad habits, kind of.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
So imagine an AI system that's used to screen job applicants, right?
Right.
If the data it learned from has historical biases, like if it shows a preference for, say, male candidates for certain jobs,
Yeah.
the AI might learn to do the same thing,
Wow.
even if gender isn't officially part of what it's looking at.
That's really unfair.
It is.
And that could happen even if the people creating the AI aren't trying to be biased.
Exactly. That's what's really concerning. A lot of times, these biases, they're unintentional. They creep in because the data sets are already biased.
Right.
Or because of, really subtle choices that the designers make without even realizing it.
So it's in the code itself.
Yeah. Think about an AI that's supposed to predict, say, who might commit another crime, right?
Okay.
If it's trained on data that already has racial biases in it,
Right.
it might unfairly label people of color as higher risk.
Mm.
And that just keeps the cycle of injustice going.
That's kind of a scary thought, actually.
Yeah.
It seems like AI bias could actually make inequality worse.
It's a real danger.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to develop AI ethically, which the report talks about too.
Ethical AI, what does that even mean?
Well, it means building fairness and transparency into AI from the very beginning. Starting with using diverse data sets to train the algorithms.
Okay.
Making sure the teams of engineers who design and check these systems are diverse. It's about being proactive and really trying to find and fix potential biases before they cause harm.
So it's not just about making AI that's really smart.
Right.
It also has to be fair.
Yes.
It has to be equitable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that requires a real change in how we think about AI.
Yeah.
A commitment to ethics from the ground up.
Okay. Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You've really given us a lot to think about.
The big topic.
Yeah. But before we wrap up, the report looks ahead a bit.
Yeah.
It talks about some trends in AI that are, kind of exciting and kind of daunting at the same time. What were some of the things that you found really interesting in that part?
Well, two things come to mind. The first is this idea of artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
AGI, right. That's the ultimate goal of AI, isn't it?
It is. Creating machines that are as smart as humans.
Yeah.
That can learn and solve any problem.
Across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even though true AGI is still a long way off,
right,
the progress is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine AI that can not only diagnose diseases, but can actually develop new treatments.
Right.
Or AI that can work with us on, huge scientific breakthroughs.
It's mind-blowing, but also a little, intimidating.
Sure.
What happens when machines are as smart as we are?
Big question.
Yeah.
One that people are, debating and speculating about a lot. But for now, AGI is more of a long-term goal. Something a little more pressing, which is the second trend that stood out to me, is this idea of quantum AI.
Quantum AI. Okay. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
What is that?
So it's about using the power of quantum computers to, supercharge AI.
Oh.
Quantum computers are totally different from regular computers.
Okay.
They can do certain types of calculations way, way faster.
Wow.
And that could lead to breakthroughs in, like, medicine, material science, even keeping our data safe.
So it's like AI on steroids, basically.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Quantum AI could totally change tons of industries
Yeah.
and speed up innovation like crazy. But it also brings up new ethical concerns and risks
Right.
that we need to be ready for.
It's like every time we get an answer about AI, 10 more questions pop up.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so fascinating, I guess.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been an amazing journey through the world of AI. But before we go, what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from all of this?
The most important thing to remember is that the future of AI isn't set in stone.
Okay.
It's being shaped right now by researchers, entrepreneurs, policymakers, by all of us.
Mm.
And by understanding the potential benefits and risks, by having informed conversations about it,
Yeah.
by demanding that AI be developed and used responsibly, we can all help steer it in a direction that benefits everyone.
It's a call to action for all of us, really.
Yeah, I think so.
AI isn't just something happening to us, it's something we're all creating together.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into AI. It's a topic we'll definitely be revisiting as things keep developing. And for everyone listening, thanks for being part of the conversation.